quite evident that governments are hesitant to tackle hate speech head on. Why do you think this is?
Well, I think there are different factors. One of the major factors is political. And by political, I mean that the migration situation has been negatively portrayed in the media and is negatively perceived by public opinion. You have had political parties with nationalist and xenophobic tendency which have capitalized on the situation. And that led to some politicians being quite reluctant to take meaningful action in migration. Some of them even thinking that being tough on migration with really borderline speech could be a good thing to win the public opinion. And I think that's one of the reasons why the politicians have been reluctant to be outspoken when it comes to hate speech, anti-migrant hate speech.
There's a common rhetoric on the far right that hate speech is not in fact hate speech, but merely people exercising their right to freedom of expression and to express their opinions. Where do you think we draw the line between freedom of speech and hate speech?
So that is a very much debated question. It is true that everybody has freedom of expression, and that includes speech that could be even disturbing or shocking. But at the same time, there is a limit, and the limit is that you cannot advocate or support national, racial or religious hatred that would constitute incitement to violence. And I think that's where we need to draw the line is, yes, you can freely express yourself, but when your legitimate speech becomes hatred, that's where the line is.
And is there any proof that hate speech inherently leads to violence?
I think we cannot say that hate speech automatically leads to violence. But what is for sure is that you have historical examples and evidence that that the two are correlated. For example, if we take the situation of Jews in Germany, in Nazi Germany, you had governmental propaganda calling for extermination of Jews, and unfortunately we know what happened. And the same thing could be said for the situation in Rwanda, where clearly you had radio stations broadcasting messages of hatred and calling for the extermination of Tutsis, and also we know what happened after that. So those examples, and many more that you can find in the report, show that while there is no causal link between hate speech and violence, an environment in which hate speech is tolerated would create an environment in which violence and hostility can thrive.
You talk a lot in your report about the relatively new issue of online hate speech. What do you think the impact is of hate speech that happens on the internet, and why is it so much more difficult to control it?
So with the advent of new technologies, and that includes internet, people have been provided with more possibilities to talk to more people and share content. The problem is that includes hate speech. And with the online environment, there is just so much content that could be shared repeatedly, anonymously, and through different platforms and formats. So the issue is not, so it's really difficult to control, and it's not the objective. What should be done, what needs to be done is actually to be able to educate people so they understand what they can say and the limit that is advocating for violence.
And on that, what do you think, what more could be done to address the hate speech problem?
I think that in terms of laws and policies, it's not that they are perfect, but it's they're simply not enough. We have international law clearly stating that hate speech should be prohibited. Even at national level, we have different strong laws and policies. But much more needs to be done in terms of education. We need to make people aware of what they can say and the limit of their freedom of expression. And also for the media, they need to be trained when they report on different issues such as migration, so as to make sure that when they do it, and they do it in an objective way, and avoid trying to incite or create a negative perception of the migration issue.
Thank you.